Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm Peter Reinhardt. Leo Spizzirri, Maestro of Pizza, is back with all sorts of good news for us. He used to be known as the greatest guy you never heard of, until his classes across the country, and especially at Pizza University, became legendary. His videos on Instagram and TikTok have turned him into an international celebrity, and now, having consulted for years behind the scenes for restaurants and pizzerias across the country, he is now the chef and creative partner in a restaurant of his own in Austin, Texas called Moderna Bar and Pizzeria, which just won the coveted prize as Best New Restaurant in Austin. And if that's not enough, his first book, Pizza Love, 100 Recipes Perfected for the Home Cook, is available for pre-order now and will be out any day. I think it's safe to say that Leo is no longer the greatest guy you never heard of, but is now simply the greatest guy you now all know and love. And the guy of whom the legendary author Pat Bruno says, Spizzirri knows pizza like Michelangelo knew marble. Not bad. Welcome back, Leo.
Hi, Peter. It's always great to be with you and hear your voice. And man, thank you so much for having me.
Well, you got to be tired. It's been a whirlwind couple of weeks, and I know you just got back to your home near Chicago from Austin, where Moderna just won a big award. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm finally getting my voice back. It's been a crazy week. The phone has literally been ringing off the hook. So the cool thing about we opened Moderna just before Christmas last year, in 2025. We've been working on this project since 2019, and because of the pandemic, it kind of put a screaming halt to our plans. If we didn't have to deal with the pandemic, we would have been open 3 years ago. But coming out of a pandemic, there was issues finding real estate. Landlords had a misconception of what fair market value really was. So we decided, as you know, three pros. I have two business partners. Mike Podorf, who owns a very large chain of Tex-Mex restaurants called the Iron Cactus, currently in Texas, and my business partner, Christopher Ruling, who's a bar legend throughout Texas. Kind of three big guys coming together or looking forward in the same direction. Decide to open this pizzeria that kind of looks back, like when you see the design, like looks kind of very art deco, like it maybe came out of like the 30s, 40s, like a speakeasy, like a home might hung out there. Really gorgeous, really dark, green, velour booths and gold accents and everything like that. So we finally got open, and it's been insanity since we opened. We're on almost all reservations at this point. We do take some walk-ins. It's easier to get sometimes a seat at the bar than it is in the restaurant. But we got nominated for Best New Restaurant in Austin for 2026, and there was 16 amazing competitors, and we found out on Thursday night last week. We had the award ceremony, and we won. So it was a really amazing thing to see that, the amazing team that I have there. We keep saying amazing because it is really amazing to take a group of individuals, some of which came from the fine dining world and never really dealt with pizza, and to see what we did with the menu, that it's pizza, but it's not pizza forward. You can still get ossobuco and veal chops and wild boar ragu over polenta, and it's really the menu is incredible, and it's everything that I did through my travels in Italy and then here in the States, and then combined together to this incredible menu. And the staff there really executed amazing. I have an incredible executive chef. His name is Michael McNeely, who's a kid from New York. When you hear us talking together, it's like, almost like we're speaking in tongues if you don't speak the language, right? And to have a chef like Michael and a business, a couple of business partners that all understand the vision, I think that's a testament to what we've built, and to see that we've already gotten accolades at this point in the game.
Yeah, you've only been open a few months now.
We're a little over 4 months.
But still, that's so new. You're still working out the bugs usually in 4 months, and now you're already like in a very hot restaurant city, Austin, Did you say there were 16 finalists?
Yeah, there was
Huh.
16 finalists. I mean, but it was so diverse. Like there was barbecue guys, there was
Yeah.
all kinds of different fusion cuisines that were in there, and there was a lot of great individuals and chefs that were in that list. And to see that we made it on top, again, it was very humbling to say the least.
It sounds like the kind of place when you describe it that like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin would walk in if they were still alive. They'd walk in at any time now and have a
Without a
booth
doubt.
waiting for them. Yeah.
Without a doubt. And again, the bar program is amazing because yeah, well, you still get wine and spirits and all that kind of thing. Like we've curated this incredible wine list. So it's something for everybody. But then, there is we call it the cantina list, right? The cellar list. And in that list, there are some very rare wines, things like that. So, somebody looking for that experience to say, we want to come and drink some really good wine, eat some really great traditional Italian food, not like Americanized, but like traditional. And even the pizza that I created is very special. I came up with a new heading, and maybe I'm starting something new, but my my pizza is called Heritage Post Neapolitan, is what I'm calling it.
Heritage Post
Post
Neapolitan.
Neapolitan.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think that it's a style in its own, and everybody kind of sees it as, oh, it's like an artisan pizza, but it's really not. Like I made really great friends with an amazing miller down there by the name of James Brown, who owns the Barton Springs Mill,
sure. Very,
and
very well known. Yeah.
it very well known, incredible. Like basically, what I want to do with food, he's doing with grain. And to be able to have somebody like that in the corner and say, "Hey, James, I'm looking for this, or I want this kind of profile, or I want this kind of enzymatic activity in my dough because of the grain." He was really a huge part of selecting. We went with a grain called Rouge de Bordeaux, and it's actually sourced in northern Texas. So I'm grinding that grain in my dough room, and we're making dough every day. It's a 3-day process, and it's
So you have a
incredible.
mill? You have like a flour mill right there at the restaurant?
Yeah, if you go into our dough room, it was actually the first thing that we laid out inside the restaurant. And it really is the core because the climate in Texas, right, is it can be really, really hot. It never gets really cold like us in the Midwest, but
Yeah.
it hits 45 degrees out in
Mm.
Texas, and everybody starts losing their mind that it's freezing. But but for me, it was really one of those that we created this bubble. I keep that dough room at about 64 degrees all the time. I've got an incredible fresh pasta program that we make pasta there. We're baking bread twice a day out of the place, so fresh artisan bread, and it really is a testament to everything that I know, and then to be able to offer that to the city of Austin.
Yeah. Well, and they're open. Austin loves to be a place, where ideas can be presented. And it's competitive. You got a very competitive city there for food. But
Yeah.
tell me more about this pizza because this it sounds like if I were to look at it like for the first time, would I say, wait a second, that's just another Neapolitan, or what's different from the
If you
classic
when you
Neapolitan?
so when you see it, I guess the trigger words would be right. We have Neapolitan, Neo-Neapolitan, right?
Yeah,
And I would
yeah.
say that it's kind of smack dab in the middle of that. When you look at the Cornicione is blistered. It's got some leopard spotting, but more bubbles, more volume, right?
Mm.
And it's because of the biga. I have a biga in the dough. It's pretty high hydrated. I started out at about
Mm.
70% hydration, and then because of the skilled labor force, I ended up bringing it down a little bit so that it was more manageable
Mm.
to all of my pizza makers. And the training piece, that's probably what I spent the most time on, was training all of our pizzaioli how to actually stretch dough the proper way, how to handle it the right way. And if I wasn't going to get 100% of, the experienced hands, I was going to try to make the process so simple that they could do it
Mm.
consistently every time. The other key piece of this is the oven. So the bake is it's a very particular bake. I ended up landing, I ended up getting a Mara Forni, and I worked very closely with Enzo Mara and Francesco Mara on building my oven. I'm going to tell you, Peter, I drove those guys crazy. And 3 different POs. I originally wanted to be running wood, but I'm the only place on 6th Street. So we're downtown Austin, Texas on 6th Street. I'm the only place on 6th Street that gives free parking. I've got a parking garage above me, and on top of the parking garage, the park district decided to put a pickleball court. So my exhaust, my venting for my oven ended up that it was too close to the pickleball court. So they says absolutely no wood because we don't want you smoking everybody out. So I had to change gears and go with gas. And going back and forth with Francesco and Enzo, they literally let me customize a one-of-one oven. It was funny because I remember at one point Francesco was like, "Look, we'll do whatever you want. Just stop changing, right? Just decide on what you want." But I will tell you, if it doesn't work, right, it's on you, right? We'll do whatever you want, but this is it. So I ended up building a very special oven. It was built on site for us. It's 150 centimeter, the biggest rotating oven, which I never thought I would be in a rotating oven. But it was probably the greatest decision that we made because I've got a 3-minute bake. It's 2 revolutions at 90 seconds, running at 700 degrees. And the goal is that, like as a baker, Peter, it's great to do high hydration doughs, but at the end of the day, baking is really baking that water out so that the crumb structure, that the crispiness, the texture, and that was really the focus. That's why it took so many iterations of this oven. I went back and forth to their headquarters out in Maryland, testing all different variations of ovens, things that I saw, different burners. And it was, at the end, what we built, like I said, was incredible. It's the only one in Austin, Texas. It's got what they call a Vesuvius top. So it looks like a volcano on top to Mount Vesuvius. All gold. Same thing with my mixer in my dough room. All the accents in the restaurant are gold. And, we keep, people in Austin like, oh, well, it's because Spizzirri's got the Midas touch, right? Whatever he touches turns to gold. I disagree, but this is kind of what, the vibe is. And when you come there and you have this pizza, it's super light, super airy. Everything we talk about in Italian pizza about being like that digestibility, right?
Yeah.
We don't really talk about that in American pizzas, but in Italian, we talk about digestibility all the time, meaning that you can eat a whole pizza of mine, right? You don't have to share it. Eat a 12-inch pizza, and you'll feel like at the end of your meal, you'll want to go take a walk and maybe go out for a little gelato or, go for something. And that's the difference, I think, of what we created. Mother Nature took its time to develop that dough between the biga and then the process of
How much fermentation?
Cold maturation is 48 hours. So when we say it takes 3 days to make our dough, when you eat that dough, you understand where that investment of time went.
Plus, you're using house milled flour, right?
So I'm using house milled flour, this Rouge de Bordeaux, and I also have some Italian flour in there also. I'm using a Tipo Zero, not double zero, type zero, from Caputo, Antimo Caputo, and a little bit of semolina. And again, the semolina gives a little bit. The reason I put the semolina was because it dried the dough up a little bit more, because of the type of wheat with the durum. Yeah. So a wet dough didn't feel so wet, if that makes sense. And the other side of it was that, I got this, the beautiful flavor. I love the flavor of semolina,
Yeah, me too.
And it gives this beautiful flavor. And with the dough, with the pasta program, it was just a natural thing. I had it all around. So it's like, well, let's throw a little in there and see what happens. And I think that we ended up, grabbing the tail of the unicorn, and it worked.
All right. Well, I want to come back to the restaurant in a minute and talk more about the whole menu. I'm curious, especially about these pastas. But let me ask you this before I forget. You and I are going to be teaching a pizza class in a couple of weeks at Pizza University together, sourdough pizza. Now,
we're doing a sourdough.
Would it be possible, number one, for us to get some of that Barton Springs flour sent out, for the class and try to replicate your dough there so that it's going to be a while before I ever get to Austin and I got to try this. But also, is there any way that we could use in place of the biga, our sourdough starter that we're going to be building the class around?
So this is interesting. So I have 2 starters in my pizza garage here in Chicago. One is called Lemmy and one is called Sophia, right? Sophia's a little sweeter. She's a little more gentle. And then Lemmy, the singer from Motorhead. I'm sure you know Motorhead, Peter. Big
Yeah.
fan, right?
All right.
So,
You
Lemmy is the
are.
singer,
Yeah.
singer of Motorhead. So it's a little more aggressive, right? And I have Lemmy and Sophia sitting in the garage. And the original versions of my dough had a culture in them. And the problem that I was running into was that because I wasn't going to be in the restaurant 24/7, the maintenance of a culture and a naturally leavened dough, really, I had a lot of fear in the consistency of it. And that's why I ended up going with the Biga and the process, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all in the process, but the flavor is there, the texture is there. And yeah, absolutely. Could I have done sourdough? I really wanted to do a sourdough pizza.
But we can do it in when we at Pizza University. What is it? It's May what 4th?
Yeah, May 4th through the 4th, 5th, 6th. More
4th, 5th,
4th
and
through the
6th.
6th. And you know what else we're doing, Peter? We put a special code that we're going to promote this class for 20% off to all the students. So there is still a few seats left. And I think this is really cool. So if you go to the checkout, so go pizzauniversity.org, and then under the intensive course tab, you'll find the sourdough class with you and I. And then once you check out, if you use the code sourdough20, all one word, sourdough20, it'll give you 20% off the
Sourdough
class.
with the number 20 with the digits.
Yes,
2 of it, right?
sourdough, the word sourdough with 20,
Okay.
and it'll give you 20% off. And we started promoting it a little bit at
That's like a
Pizza
$400
Expo.
savings, by the way. That's about
It's-
$400 off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. So, to say, if you're on the fence, if it's a money thing, whatever, believe it or not, Pizza University actually does have a financing thing. So you could actually, we have people from all walks of life. And to make an investment in your education sometimes isn't easy. So, they have a lot of different ways that they can help out, at that level. But for me, like every time I get to do a class, this is the third time we're doing this class. It always sells out. And for me, the thing I love is that I get to hang with you, like truly one of my biggest mentors. And to be able to make pizzas and bread and talk dough, with you or side by side, I still don't feel that I'm even worthy of being in the same room. But to be doing that with you, and I think that the students to be able to get that, where we're kind of saying like, I hate to say old school, new school, because I think that we both came out of the same pond. And I think that it's the new generation that's going to take the torch when we're gone.
Yeah.
So, I love this. And, you've heard me geek out about my own dough in Texas. Could you imagine listening to me for 3 days along with you and making pizzas and doing this? Like it's a riot. I love it, man.
Well, we have a lot of fun when we do these classes. So hopefully, if any of you are listening and have those 3 days free, you just contact Pizza University, get all the details, all the logistics, the hotel information, everything like that, because it's time and it's the cost of the class and travel costs and stuff like that. So we want to make it worth your while. But more importantly for Leo and I, we have an awful lot of fun, and we try to make it fun
great.
for you as well. We like
It's
it to
great.
go out for dinner one night. I mean, there's all sorts of cool things that happen. So join us, and then when we're there, I want to make sure that I get a chance to experience your Moderna pizza.
I'm gonna see. I'll see what I can do to mock it up. If not, I'm gonna figure out. I'll call your wife and I'll get you guys on a plane. I'll fly out there myself, or on a train, or whatever you feel comfortable with. I'll
Right.
get you guys out there somewhere.
All right, so we'll see you there, and then now back to the restaurant for a second. So you mentioned that you do pasta. What's your role? Are you the quote like the executive chef there? Do you design the
So I
menu?
have we have an executive chef. I would say that I'm a maybe corporate executive chef, chef partner, or something like that.
I always like the term creative consultant.
It's all well. It's definitely not a consultant. I'm definitely a partner.
You're a partner this
Yeah,
time.
yeah. We got
Normally
skin.
you're a consultant and everyone else is
Right.
This time you got skin in the game, man.
This is a Leo project. So it is a lot of pride. It is making sure now, like I always, everybody knows my integrity in the industry, right? But for me, it's always about like how do I make them shine? And it's not my focus, the focus on me. It's a focus on them. And I always spend a lot of time with every client, making sure that they know that and understand that. But I want to make sure they get to the finish line and like are at the highest level we can start this thing, and it's up to them to maintain it. With Moderna, it's really crazy because I've been my own worst enemy. because now it's my name and my face all over it. And I'm taking it a little bit more personal. That drive for success, like you guys know, everybody knows, I'm a pretty competitive person by nature, and that drive for success. I mean, it really is sometimes a curse, because is anything ever going to be good enough?
Yeah.
But I think that in my age, I'll be 51 actually in June. It's one of those
This is
lessons I'm
still a
learning.
kid. You're still you're young enough to be my son.
I know you say that, but when you hear the younger generation, I just came back from Pizza Expo and they're calling me an OG, like,
Yeah, right,
so
right.
I'm one of the old guys now, and it's, again, this is where we're at. We're all going to get old, and who are we going to pass this on to? That's why we teach.
And that's what it's about. Yeah.
That's right.
And that's really, I think, in terms of everything that you do and the zillions of things you do, including playing guitar and collecting guitars and everything like we see behind you there. But all that, in the end, really, what I think in your heart and soul is you're really about it being a teacher and
That's right.
passing on this legacy of knowledge and wisdom that you've accrued over the years through studying under other great masters, but also spending a lot of time in Italy at the sort of the
Yeah,
heartland of
I
it all.
spent a lot of time traveling literally all over the world, and when you take little bits and pieces away and put it as part of your fabric and figure out what you actually want to do. I think this is the lesson that I've learned over life. Like when you're young, you want to do everything, right? But then as you start to get older, I think the important part is to figure out who you want to be, what you're trying to do, and how to make the best version of yourself instead
Mhm.
of something that's for everybody. Because I think that once everybody starts to see that and how special it is, they'll all be there, right? And trying to figure out how you did it. So, that's really what position I'm at right now, and I'm content. Like I'm happy with where we're at. Like I always want more. I always want to do better. But I think at this point to say that in the last 2 years, I opened a restaurant. I wrote a book that
Yeah.
was with one of the biggest publishers in the country. I didn't have a co-writer. You did the forward, so I mean, like just that in itself was incredible. And then all these other things that are rolling behind it, and like I said, it's a surreal moment in my career. Let's
Yeah.
just say it like that.
Well, it's all coming together. All the little streams are converging in one spot for you. But so it's expressing itself now, if, for at least for this period of your life, in this new restaurant, Moderna Pizzeria Bar and Pizzeria in Austin, Texas. In addition to pizza, and I want to ask this too before I forget, is what percentage of your customer base is ordering the pizza versus everything else on the menu? You
No,
mentioned osabuco, you're doing
it's
house made pastas, you've got all sorts of cool stuff on the menu. Uh, how's it all lay out?
so actually the layout is key, because one of the other things that we said was that we knew we were going to do a lot of takeout pizzas, right? So for us, being that the way that the restaurant is set up, we didn't want the experience to the diner to be kind of, affected, because you have people coming in to pick up pizzas and they're waiting all over the place in flip
Right.
flops and shorts and all that kind of thing. Not that there's a bad thing about that, but what we
But it's
really
messing with
did
the
was
vibe.
it literally does mess with the vibe, and it's the experience of what you're coming in for, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you only have, like, there's people out there say, look, I can only afford to go eat out once a month, right? If that, if they choose to come and eat with me once a month, I want to make sure that their experience is at the highest level they can get. So
Yeah.
what we did was, my partners called it the back door, right? So we have this back door, right, that we created, almost like
Oh.
speakeasy style.
Yeah.
It's
That's cool.
painted bright red. You go around the building, right? And then all of a sudden there's a separate entrance, and that's the pickup area for all our takeout food. And it literally is exact replica design, same finishes, all like the colors, the paintings. It's exact as going into the restaurant without actually going into the restaurant to get your stuff. So it was like, again, there was so much thought and care put into this, that, again, I think that that's really why Moderna is shining.
And it's nice to have a creative team where everybody's great at what they do at their piece of the puzzle.
That's right. And to say like what percentage, I'll definitely say, man, we sell a lot of pizzas, But in the hours that we're open in the dining room, because we're not open all day and you can't get all of our food to go. Like, for example, like if you order ossobuco, who's getting ossobuco to go? And if they did want it to go, our biggest fear as partners was how are they going to take that home and warm it up? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it doesn't go as planned. It takes my dish and changes it.
Yeah.
And then what? I'm going to get a bad Yelp review because you didn't rewarm your takeout the proper way. So we just made a decision. You can't do it. You can only take out salads and pizza. That's all we got. We got a couple salads, all the pizzas, and during the week, we're not open for lunch every day. During the week, it's all takeout, salads, pizzas, and then Thursday, Friday, no, yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're open for lunch and dinner, right? We close midday, 3 to 5 p.m. to kind of reset because it is such a big process. It's a full scratch kitchen. The dance, if you will, of what has to happen from 7 a.m. when we open. We don't open at 7 a.m., but our bakers get there. I brought an amazing girl named Daniela Mendez. She was Stanislaw's 2025 scholarship winner.
Wow.
Cordo Stanislaus has this scholarship that they put out there every year in collaboration with Pizza University, and she was the winner last year. She was in one of my classes as part of one of the perks of winning, and I saw something in Daniela. She's young. She's in her, at that time, I think she was in her 30s, early 30s, something like this. And I looked at her and I says, what's your goal? At the end of the class, we ended up talking for a while. And I ended up transplanting her to Austin.
Wow.
She used to work for Pauly G out in Brooklyn. And she was all over New York. And it was one of those things that she's in charge of my bakery program now. Let's just say it like that. She makes all my dough. She's in charge of the pasta program. She's in charge of all the breads. And again, here's somebody, it's perfect example of what we're talking about. How do we inspire the next generation? Here's a girl, a woman. I keep saying girl. Here's a woman, right? Who has so much talent, right?
Yeah.
That again, she just needed that one little push or that one break and come over here by us to see. Like, man, it's been amazing to watch her grow and progress. She's been out there for about 6 months with us, and she's killing it. She was at the awards ceremony with us. She was in all the pictures. I kept telling her, Daniela, stay next to me. Get over here. Because without your team, you're nothing, right? I couldn't do this by myself. So, like that sort of thing to me is such a huge part of what we do.
She's like your protege, and she's kind of like your Laura Meyer Laura is to Tony Gimignani.
I like she knows Laura very well and Leah. She's part of the Women in Pizza thing, and she does Fork to Future, and she does all those things. And to her, I keep telling her like, you're not my Laura Meyer. Like, yes, I guess you could say you're my Laura Meyer, but I want you to stand up on your own. I want you to have the opportunity to grow and do it on your own. I don't want to have my hand on you all the time, right? So if you want to do things, if you have a better way of doing something, show me I'm wrong. Let's do it together. Let's do a test together. And again, Laura's amazing, and to see the body of work that she's done through this time, getting herself to opening Pizzeria de Laura, which is now I think 3 years old or something like that. She's doing incredible over there in Sacramento. And I think that all of these things together, you do need somebody to take you off the ground and say, look, you've got it in you. We're going to bring you up here and now fly, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Laura. Tony let Laura fly. And I want Daniela to do the same thing.
So and exactly. And so she one of these days, that's a great sort of example, seeing Laura Meyer, who was for many years, protéged with Tony. Now she's a rock star in her own right. And that's essentially what you're doing, is you're building the rock stars of the future.
You got to have faith in them. You can't micromanage everything, because somebody with talent needs to grow. And how are they going to grow? By figuring it out on their own without being told, you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Because eventually that person's going to stop growing. They're going to stop experimenting. And again, this is not what we're doing. This is not what it's all about.
Well, before we run out of time, I want to touch on the book, because the book is another piece of this puzzle, because that's how you also transmit the knowledge and wisdom that you've gathered and acquired over the years
That's
to
right.
the home cooks. This book is for home cooks, right? It's called
That's right. It's called Pizza Love. Pizza
Pizza
Love.
Love.
100 recipes for like gear for, we say gear for the home cook, right? Home baker. But again, no different than, let's call out the Pizza Bible,
Yeah.
right? I don't know a restaurant in America that makes pizza that doesn't have a copy of the Pizza Bible in the office, right? And it really is that kind of thing. When Tony wrote the Pizza Bible, it had amazing information that was cutting edge at the time, and it's still relevant today. And I think that what I've done in Pizza Love, the front matter or the front part of the book reads just like a master class. It goes through just like you were to sit in one of our classes, and it talks about flours and talks about fermentation and all the activity that happens to that dough in the process of, a few hours or a few days, and then what happens to it when it actually goes into the oven. 8 different styles of pizza. I even cover, very gently Biga and Polish in here as well, which is another thing that, we wanted to do. It might be its own book. Let's just say it like that. There's been a lot of talk right now of you got to do that one chapter and really dive in. And I think that, the publisher wanted 50,000 words and I came back with 70.
Yeah.
So to say that I gave them like a book and a half's worth of material and half a book they didn't use, I think that there's an opportunity. But to see that 8 styles of pizza from Italian to all the American styles, and then between 8 to 10 pizza recipes with each one of those doughs, and then in the back section, turning some of those doughs into other things, calzones, stromboli, focaccia. I even give my meatball recipe and so many other things. It's amazing. There's so much great info in there.
Do you sell meatballs at the restaurant?
We call them meatballs della nonna. It's literally, we say it's every Italian chef's, my grandma's meatballs. Like, these are literally my grandma's meatballs. You don't need you don't need a knife. Literally, they fall apart like in your mouth when you're eating them. They're so beautiful.
Well, we're about out of time, but you and I, after we finish this, we're going to make a little lightning round tape, and we're going to post them on Instagram and social media. So those of you who are watching this, you'll find little snippets of one-off questions with Leo. And one of my questions for you will be, some tips for making the perfect meatball. So we're going to talk about that.
Peter, one last thing I want to say. Pizza Love is available for pre-order on Amazon and every major retailer where you would buy books. Official launch date is June the 23rd. So please, if you know, Peter, the pre-sales affect all the lists. And one of my dreams has always been an author on a New York Times list. So if we have any opportunity, I need everybody's help, and pre-orders definitely do it. Pre-orders are going great, but it always needs that extra little push.
That's it. So you heard it here. The official date's June 23rd. Order it now. That will also help boost sales and get the word out. Pizza Love. That's got a long subtitle, about 100 recipes, for making great pizza at home. So this book is for everybody. And of course, some of those everybody's are going to end up owning their own pizzerias someday, because that's right. Kind of the gateway into for people that are become hobbyists and enthusiasts to suddenly go, you know what, I think I could do this professionally. And so many of the people we meet at Pizza Expo are people that started out that way, as home cooks who made what some would say the fatal mistake of saying, boy, this pizza's so good, I should build my own restaurant. But
as we say, God forbid it works.
Be careful what you ask for.
That's right.
If you don't ask for it, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Leo, best of success with everything. So much is happening for you.
Thank you so much,
Peter. Back on. I will see you, at Pizza University up in Beltsville, Maryland, in a couple of weeks, and we're going to make the new pizza you've developed. We're going to try to make our own version of it there, as well as a whole bunch of other sourdough-based pizzas for the folks who come and join us. And we'll look for all of you to join us on some of these Instagram reels and shorts that Leo and I are going to crank out in a minute, and come back each week for another episode of Pizza Quest. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Leo. And we'll see all of you next time on Pizza Quest.
Ciao, everybody.